talk to like any Asian parent, they're very big into
Oh, I
names.
can
Like
hear you.
First. So he's because she's not teaching them.
Just checking if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Hey, Carlos. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Uh-huh.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, and then we will have a roll call. Can everyone please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So just a couple of housekeeping items before we take the roll. For board members that are in person, microphones are directly in front of you. When they are red, the mic is not live. Please click the mic when you would like to speak. The mic will turn green and then you can have your turn. Once you are done speaking, please push the mic again so it turns red. For board members participating via Zoom, and we have quite a few today, please remain on mute. If you would like to speak, please push the hand icon to indicate you would like to speak. This will help me and everyone else know that you would like to say something, and then I will make sure that you have an opportunity to speak. For charters or applicants on the agenda that are participating via Zoom, please stay muted until your item is called. Once your item is called, board staff will introduce the item, and then I will call on you to address the board. At that time, you may unmute yourselves. For charters or applicants on the agenda participating in person, Once your item is called, board staff will provide a brief introduction and answer any questions board members have for the staff. Then I will request that representatives from the charter come up to the podium to address the board. Ashley, can we have a roll call, please?
President Monteith,
Here.
Vice President Close,
Here.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Here.
Miss Barr, Dr. Crockett,
Here.
Miss Foster,
Here.
Miss Jones,
Here.
Mr. Ruiz,
Here.
Mr. Stratton, Mr. Swanson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Lovely. All right, we are going to move on to agenda item D, Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Designee Miller, good morning.
Good morning, President Monteith and board members. Superintendent Horn's April report. Superintendent Horn and the Arizona Department of Education are excited to highlight some upcoming opportunities for your community at the Capitol. In partnership with the Secretary of State's office, ADE has put together a community guide for Two Lights for Tomorrow. Two Lights for Tomorrow is a nationwide initiative to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday. This event commemorates Paul Revere's ride on the night of April 18th, 1775. The initiative calls for displaying two lights in homes, community centers, government buildings, and elsewhere to symbolize unity and an effort to create a better future. America 250 AZ is hosting a free event at the state capitol on the evening of April 18th with historical reenactments, a patriotic flyover, live entertainment, food trucks, and more. The doors for this free event open at 5:30 p.m. Visit the ADE History and Social Studies Academic Standards page for the related community guide and additional teaching resource ideas to incorporate Two Lights for Tomorrow in the classroom. Also, don't miss the 9th Annual Mining Day at the Capitol, April 16th from 11 to 2. The event is intended for the public, students, and lawmakers, and will feature hands-on activities and demonstrations by exhibitors to share the importance of mining in our everyday lives and get a behind-the-scenes look at the state's sustainable mining operations. If you would like to bring your classroom to this hands-on experiential event, contact Whitney Lennon, Education Program Director, whitney@azmining.org. Thank you. This concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. On to agenda item E, Executive Director's Report with Ashley. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Good morning, President Monteith, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. This past month has been a very productive one for our team as we enter our final months of the school year. We are focused on wrapping up current projects, beginning the new charter application cycle, and completing the final stages of our monitoring processes. Additionally, in the past month, if you want to go to the next slide, sorry. In the past month, we have had President Monteith approve 4 voluntary surrender agreements for the end of the school year. I have approved 43 amendments related to updates to charter contracts, such as changing governing body members and instructional days amendment requests. And our team has completed 8 interval reviews and 7 renewal reviews. And we had the opportunity to visit 20 schools. As an update to our legal actions, on March 4th, 2025, our board took action to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter contract for American Virtual Academy for failure to meet academic performance expectations. A hearing before the Office of Administrative Hearing is scheduled for May 19th and May 20th. However, it is my understanding that based on availability of the parties, that this hearing date may be continued to a different date. On December 16th, 2024, the board denied Matina's Community Services, Inc.'s request for a new charter. The applicant appealed the board's decision, and a hearing was scheduled for March 13th and March 14th before the Office of Administrative Hearings. The board's legal counsel and board staff appeared before the administrative law judge on March 13th. However, the Matina did fail to appear before the administrative law judge. Therefore, no further action is required by the board at this time, as the judge did vacate and dismiss that appeal. With that, President Monteith and board members, that is all I have to report.
Thank you so much. On to item Agenda item F, call to the public. We have one written public comment that was received for agenda item I2B, Hassan Educational Services. The comment is included in the posted agenda on the board's website, and we have not received any requests to speak at this time. And on to agenda item G, consent agenda. Any questions about the consent agenda? Okay, then with that, do we have a motion?
President Montier, this is Hans.
Hi, Hans.
Did you want me to raise my hand, so to speak, in the Zoom, or did you want me to just speak up to make the motion?
I say speak up.
All right, that's fine. So I move to approve consent agenda, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second. Ashley, can we get a roll call, please?
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett, Miss Foster,
Aye.
Miss Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Montier.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Lovely. All right, on to agenda item H, charter renewal. Presentation by Shannon. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning. Kaizen Education Foundation, DBA Mission Heights Preparatory High School, submitted a charter renewal application package on March 3rd, 2025 to continue operation of Mission Heights Preparatory Public Charter High School and Leona Connected High School with a current enrollment cap of 1,000. Mission Heights Preparatory Public Charter High School serves grades 9 through 12 in Casa Grande, and Leona Connected High School serves grades 9 through 12 statewide as an Arizona online instruction school. As part of the renewal process, staff conducted an academic systems review using a desk review process with a virtual visit of Mission Heights Preparatory Public Charter High School on February 5th, 2025, and of Leona Connected High School on February 6th, 2025. During the academic systems review, specific areas of the charter contract are reviewed to ensure a charter holder is in compliance. At this time, the charter holder is in compliance in all areas. The charter holder currently meets the board's academic, operational, and financial performance expectations. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria for renewal because Leona Connected High School did not receive a letter grade in fiscal year 2022 or fiscal year 2023 and received a letter grade of C Alt in fiscal year 2024. And I'm available for questions if you have them.
Board members, any questions? Okay, do we have a representative from the charter? Good morning. Can you turn the mic on? Beautiful.
I did listen to the instructions, sorry.
It's all right.
Good morning, President
Good
Montier
morning.
and members of the board staff. My name is Mary Berg and I'm the charter representative for Kaizen Education Foundation, DBA Mission Heights Preparatory High School, and Leona Connected. I'm here before you today. And before I start, I do want to introduce who is with me. I have the school leader for Mission Heights, Amanda. Sorry. And for Leona Connected, Marcus England. I also have the curriculum coach with me for Leona Connected and our director of curriculum instruction, Casey Zordani, and Eddie Wheeler, who also works part of reps. I am here before you today because we are not on the consent agenda because we did receive a C at Leona Connected High School. We, of course, take a look at our data very closely to discover what do we need to do better. And when we looked at our data, we discovered several areas which we are currently working on. And we will continue to work on. We're working with our English language learner population and working with a slight change in our curriculum there. The school has also added staff to make sure that we can get better engagement from our students. And we know if we can get them in school, earning credits, we will thus improve our graduation rate and as well as our credit earning. And those are areas that we are currently working on. If there's any other questions that you have, I am more than happy to answer them.
Board members?
I have a question.
Dr. Crockett.
So what types of steps are you taking? You mentioned your
Yep. So with our English language learners, that was one of our areas where we do have enough students, so we do receive ratings on that and realize that we need to take a look at our curriculum. We saw two areas. One was the curriculum to make sure that our students are learning and progressing in levels and becoming proficient in English. So we have switched from a Cambridge curriculum to another curriculum. It's more of an in-house curriculum that we've developed at our other schools. It's working very well. We also took a look at credit earning status and realized with an online population, I think that the school has done a great job of student engagement, but thought that we need to do even more. So they increased staffing on the reach out to students so that when they don't appear for classes, our 9th and 10th grader, 9th and 10th grade, even though we're online, they have to be on synchronous learning. Like it just didn't work to have them kind of choosing when to come to class, when not. So our 9th and 10th graders do synchronous classes now. So they have a teacher, they're logging on at a certain time. And if they don't log on, we have staff that's immediately calling to get them. Where are you? Need to see you. Need to be engaged, cameras on, engaging with their teacher. And that is working very much better for us. Is we just had too many younger kids and students that were making too many decisions on their own that just needed a bit more contact from the school.
Thank you. That sounds very positive.
Any other questions?
Montier.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. It's good to see you, Mary. Thank you for being before us today. And I agree, these changes sound positive. I also wanted to commend Mission Heights with that school leader in the room. That academic performance was so strong. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Board members online, I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anyone. No? All right. If there are no other questions or comments, then do we have a motion?
Well, now you got me, President Montier. This is
All
Hans.
right, Hans.
I move based on a review of the information provided by the representatives of the charter holder and the contents of the application package to approve the charter renewal application package and grant a renewal contract to Kaizen Education Foundation DBA Mission Heights Preparatory High School effective July 1st, 2026.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Dr. Crockett. All right, Ashley, roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye. My internet is disabled, so that's why I went offline, but I am here. Aye.
thank you. Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Montier.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. Have a great day. All right. Agenda item H1B, South Phoenix Academy, presentation by Megan.
Good morning. South Valley Academy Incorporated submitted a charter.
I'm going to pause you just a moment. There's somebody online that has their mic on. Thank you. All right.
I'll start from the top. South Phoenix Academy Incorporated submitted a charter renewal application package on January 17th, 2025 to continue operating of South Phoenix Prep and Arts Academy with a current enrollment cap of 300. South Phoenix Prep and Arts Academy serves grades K through 4 in Phoenix. As part of the renewal process, staff conducted an academic systems review using a desk review process with a virtual visit of South Phoenix Prep and Arts Academy on February 19th, 2025. During the academic systems review, specific areas of the charter contract are reviewed to ensure the charter holder is in compliance. At this time, the charter holder is in compliance in all areas. The charter holder currently meets the board's academic, operational, and financial performance expectations. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria for renewal because South Phoenix Prep and Arts Academy did not receive a letter grade in fiscal year 2022 or 2023 and received a letter grade of C for fiscal year 2024. I'm here if you have any questions.
Board members, do we have any questions? All right. With that, do we have a representative from South Phoenix Academy?
Hello, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
We are well. I'm speaking for everyone. Apparently, I'm the Lorax today. I apologize. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing
Great.
well. My name is Swen Anderson. I'm one of the charter representatives for South Phoenix Prep and Arts Academy. So I just wanted to thank all of the distinguished members of the board for allowing us the opportunity to be here today, and thank the wonderful, wonderful ASBCS staff who work diligently to support us and help to drive educational improvement in the state. So thank you all. Thanks for the opportunity to be able to share an update on South Phoenix Academy, which is a K-4. So our leadership and our educators and our support staff, we work so diligently and intentionally to strengthen our instruction and increase student achievement and to ensure that every student is growing academically. Growth is the biggest driving force behind what we do, both in data and in the lived experience of the child. That's very, very important to us. Our focus over the past several years has been hyper focused on our school improvement process and our MTSS processes. I think that's how we try to sharpen the saw from our own perspective and try to improve the delivery of instruction to our students. We've been a part of a variety of programs with the ADE, Elevate, Project Momentum, different things like that. Any opportunity that we can take to improve our craft, we want to be able to do that and improve the delivery of what we're giving our students. We want to be able to do that. Our current student population, as you can see from the data, is predominantly low income. And, we face a lot of challenges outside of school, related to our students. These realities just only deepen our commitment to creating a safe and supportive and high expectation environment within our classrooms. My hope is in the coming years that the supply of teachers will be better in that way, and we recognize that while we can't control everything that happens outside of our walls, that we do have the power to make every minute in the classroom, and every minute as what we do count. And so, beyond the academic growth, we really try to strive for igniting passion in our students, whether it's the arts, the athletics, our science programs, our leadership. We spent a lot of time in Leader in Me. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that, but 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is very, very important to us. And we believe that those things and student engagement are the key to building confidence, resilience, and a real love of learning from our students. And you can see that if you ever have a chance to come down and visit the campus, you can really see that in the teachers and the leadership there. So our vision centers around developing the well-rounded student who's not only improving the test scores, but also discovering what excites them and where they want to go in life. So we are grateful for the board's continued support, accountability. We always welcome guidance as we move forward in this, in our important work and important journey of educating young minds. So thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to share.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Board members, do we have any questions? Okay, anybody online? I'm looking, no hands. All right, do we have a motion?
Yes, President Monteith, you have a motion.
All right.
This is Hans. I move based on a review of the information provided by the representatives of the charter holder and the contents of the application package to approve the charter renewal application package and grant a renewal contract to South Phoenix Academy, Inc., effective July 1st, 2026.
A motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Ashley, roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Monteith.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. All right, on to agenda item H1C. South Valley Academy, presentation also by Megan.
Thank you. South Valley Academy Incorporated submitted a charter renewal application package on January 17th, 2025 to continue operations of South Valley Prep and Arts School with a current enrollment cap of 300. South Valley Prep and Arts School serves grades 5 through 8 in Phoenix. As part of the renewal process, staff conducted an academic systems review using a desk review process with a virtual visit of South Valley Prep and Arts School on February 19th, 2025. During the academic systems review, specific areas of the charter contract are reviewed to ensure the charter holder is in compliance. At this time, the charter holder is in compliance in all areas. The charter holder currently meets the board's academic, operational, and financial performance expectation. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria for renewal because of the South Valley Prep and Arts School did not receive a letter grade in fiscal year 2022, fiscal year 2023, or fiscal year 2024 due to there not being a letter grade model for an alternative school serving 5 through 8. I am available for any questions the board may have.
Board members, any questions for Megan? All right, with that, do we have a representative from the charter?
Yes, I'm back.
Oh my goodness.
Good to see you all again. And,
Good to see you too.
so, you know, I'm just going to echo the things that that I said on the you know, the K4. This is the 5-8, you know, for the sister school to this the Phoenix school. And thanks again to the board, and thank you again to ASBCS staff for you know, all of your support and work, and as we go through this. But you know, all of the same team, all of the same leadership, all of the same educators extend through that 5-8 group, and you know, it's the same population that we're working with, and we're just continuing to strive to ignite the passion in those students, and focus on our school improvement process. And as you know, if anybody's worked with middle school, you know how those years are the critical years of students developing into young adults. And so, you know, we really push harder to build those confidence and build confidence in those areas, and get students involved in things so that they can start to ignite their passion as they transition into 9th grade and high school, and continue those years. So thank you again for giving us a chance, and we appreciate the continued support.
Thank you. Board members, do we have any questions?
President Montieth, board members, I do have a question. And this is for the charter representative. I just first off want to thank and congratulate you on being in compliance in all the areas that are listed. Being, you know, myself as part of the AA TAC, I know that the, you know, the goal and, you know, the opportunity to try to develop a model that is representative of that grade level that you're talking about is something that we're continuing to work on. So we appreciate that. But one of the things I did want to ask you, so when you think of the indicators that are currently part of the alternative school model, are there particular things that you feel like right now that you are performing well on by doing a self-analysis or self-evaluation, even though some of those indicators obviously would not apply to your population right now?
Yes, you know, I feel like growth toward proficiency is a you know, is a big thing that, you know, I feel like we tend to shine in. I think the more that you know, I would say that's probably really the biggest thing. I think the more that we are able to understand our data and our, you know, specifically identified subgroup data, for different groups of kids. And the more, we established our own data dashboard, some things like that to basically buy ourselves more time, because that's the thing we're all racing. And so to give us more transparency into the data faster so that we can make adjustments faster is something that's going to allow us to achieve that. But make no mistake about it, even though we are, hyper focused on growth, I think the biggest thing that, I'm pushing and this group is pushing the organization toward is student proficiency. I think that's a big thing we want to be at, regardless of where our kids come, even though they're 1 or 2 years behind when we're getting them. Proficiency is the area that I'd like to see us really start to shine in.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I have just a follow-up question to that. So I just out of curiosity, what do you feel is your I don't know how to phrase this, can you highlight how you're addressing proficiency, maybe what you're the most proud of as far as addressing proficiency, particularly with the alt status and middle school? So there are kind of two areas that are a little bit challenging, I think.
Ask that question again, please. I'm sorry.
So I want to know what you are the most proud of for middle school and alt status. What is it that's something that you would like to highlight or share with everybody that you're the most proud of regarding proficiency, particularly in the grades that you're serving and with this alt status that you have?
I think that, I'm most proud of, seeing the students begin to start having a greater love of reading at this point. I know that, I don't feel like that's just quite translating yet, but I think I'm most proud of the love of reading and the depth of reading that's happening right now, and the transition that we're going to see in proficiency in that area. If I had to pick one.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Any other questions from the board? All right. With that, do we have a motion?
President Montier, this is Hans.
Hi, Hans.
Hey, so this is the last item on the renewals, right? So I just wanted to say that even though I made these motions in a somewhat pro forma manner, it's not automatic renewals, and I just want to that the charter holders, all of them here today, know that I appreciate their hard work and what they've done is really an accomplishment. And so I'm really happy to make these motions to renew. But having said that, for South Valley Academy, I move based on a review of the information provided by the representatives of the charter holder and the contents of the application package to approve the charter renewal application package and grant a renewal contract to South Valley Academy, Inc., effective July 1, 2026.
Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second, this is Carol Crockett.
Dr. Crockett. All right, Ashley.
Vice President Close.
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Jones.
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Thank you, Vice President Close, for those comments. I concur with them. Yes.
Thank you. President Montier.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations again. All right. On to agenda item A, compliance matters. We have, I1A, excuse me. Compliance matters. Imagine Superstition Middle School, Inc. Presentation by Ashley.
Schools assigned an F letter grade for the 2023-2024 school year by the Arizona Department of Education, based on the state accountability system established by the State Board of Education, are required to appear before the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools in order to determine whether to restore the charter to acceptable performance through a consent agreement or to revoke the charter. For FY 2024, only one operating school in the ASBCS portfolio was assigned a letter grade of F. The board must consider disciplinary action for Imagine Superstition Middle School, Inc., which operates Imagine Superstition Middle. The charter holder is in compliance with all of its F school requirements. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Are there any questions from board members for Ashley? Okay, do we have a representative from the charter?
Yes, good morning. We have several of us, so we appreciate your time this morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, President Monteith and members of the board and staff. On behalf of myself, Monty Lang, and Brad Uchaz, we're charter representatives for the schools in Arizona, and we want to express first our gratitude for the opportunity to share our story and begin discussions regarding one of our school's academic letter grades. We also want to extend our appreciation to all the staff at ASBCS for their continued support as we work through this process. All of them were very helpful. Imagine Schools, in partnership with our local boards, serves approximately 7,000 students across 20 charter schools on 11 campuses and one online school here in Arizona. We're dedicated to serving a unique purpose within our communities, and we strive for excellence in all that we do. Nearly 70% of the children we serve qualify for free or reduced lunches within our schools. For me, it's not just about the numbers. It's a symbol of what's happening in the lives of the students and families we serve. Learning is coming alive for our students. We see growth taking place and transformation is happening, one child, one life at a time. But I'm also going to be the first one to acknowledge that there is much more work to be done. However, when I look at where our teachers, school leaders, and students started, compare that to where they are today, I see some remarkable progress across our system. It's a solid foundation, one that will continue to support further growth and further success. Much like a traditional public school district, Imagine has an organizational structure that includes support of a regional team. These teams provide operational and academic support to all of our schools beyond just the leadership at each individual site. In addition, we implement an academic excellence framework that sets clear expectations, outcomes, and provides the necessary tools to achieve our academic goals. Furthermore, we evaluate each school's performance annually through our 6 measures of excellence. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Brad Uchaz, who's the other charter representative here in Arizona.
Thank you, Monty, and good morning. My name is Brad Uchaz, as Monty noted. I'm the other charter representative for Imagine Schools. I'm going to give the board a little context to the LEA that we'll be discussing today. Is Imagine Prep Superstition Middle. Imagine Prep Superstition Middle and Imagine Prep Superstition High are both housed in the same building. Students completing the middle school in most cases transition to our high school, which earned a letter grade of B last year. Both campuses are led by the same leadership team. Imagine Prep Superstition Middle has been serving students for nearly 15 years and is home to about 450 students. Combine that with the high school. Today, the staff and team will talk with the board, as we have other stakeholders, through what we are seeing currently from our internal benchmarks, which is positive, what caused us to have a failing grade last year, what we did throughout the year to try to fix those challenges, and finally, what are we doing this year to make sure that we are helping to improve our progress? Again, all according to our internal benchmarks. At Imagine, we take our results very seriously, not just because we're held accountable, but because we want what's best for students. We understand with great responsibility also comes accountability. We recognize that the board will be in discussion regarding our future and want to state in advance that should the board consider the consent agreement, we have reviewed that and we would be more than willing to accept. Thank you, and I'll now turn it over to our regional team and school team, starting with our principal, Leila Valencia.
Hello there. Good morning, President and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Leila Valencia, and I'm honored to serve as principal of Imagine Prep Superstition Middle and High School. I have spent 13 years with Imagine Schools, 7 of them at this campus, and this is my 3rd year leading the 6 to 12. I am proud to work alongside a dedicated administrative team, Mr. Nick Margot, Dean of Academics, and Miss Lacey Graham, Academic Coach. Our campus is unique, operating 2 LEAs within 1 building. We serve 450 students in grades 6 through 12 with 155 students in middle school. As a Title I school, we serve a diverse population with 75% of our students qualifying for free or reduced price lunch, 18% receiving special education services, and 5% identified as English language learners. While our high school earned a B rating this year, our middle school saw a drop from a B to an F. We acknowledge this grade, but it does not reflect the true picture of our school. We are taking deliberate steps to address the causes of this grade, and our current data shows significant improvements. Today, I will share the actions we've taken to drive these improvements and how we are leveling up for greater student success. We have improved our Tier 1 instruction by implementing a tiered coaching system for teacher support and retention. Our root cause analysis identified gaps in Tier 1 instruction due to the promotion of high-performing core teachers to administrative roles. We experienced high turnover in math with 3 different teachers filling the role throughout the year. Our newer, more novice ELA teacher required additional support. We made programmatic changes by adopting a more rigorous ELA curriculum, SABIS, formerly known as Pearson. Additionally, coaching support for both ELA and math teachers have intensified, including planning, modeling, observations with feedback, and co-teaching. We revamped our use of data through development and implementation of a more structured intervention system using both Navi and IXL, as well as targeted tutoring. We've structured our professional learning communities to include weekly data chats, allowing us to assess progress and adjust as needed. These improvements ensure that we are using data more effectively to address achievement gaps and individual student needs. We implemented Lexia to support our special education students with skill development. We conduct walkthroughs and pop-ins to observe instruction and provide feedback using Schoolment to capture and communicate data and feedback. The walkthrough data is analyzed by the leadership team and then shared and discussed school-wide during staff meetings. We hold monthly school improvement meetings with our regional team, which provide further monitoring, strategic guidance, and accountability. During the meetings, we analyze data, discuss trends, conduct campus walkthroughs to ensure that we are continuously improving and strategically addressing needs. We are happy to report these efforts to level up are yielding positive outcomes. Overall, median student growth percentile for ELA 6th through 8th grade increased from 27 in 23-24 to 58 in the 24-25 school year. Additionally, in math, both 7th and 8th grade median student growth percentile are at or above 50. Our weekly data chats and interventions are leading to measurable academic improvements with an average of 86% combined mastery and proficiency of skills practice for math and ELA. Staff turnover has stabilized with 100% of our middle school teachers returning next year. We've continued with our accelerated track for students to earn high school credits in middle school, setting up a feeder program for honor students. We're also adding extracurricular offerings, including competitive athletic programs to support student development outside the classroom. Finally, we're working towards applying for recognition as a state school of character, building our Imagine National School of Character network status. Though the F grade was a setback, it has spurred and renewed a sense of urgency and commitment to systematic improvement. We are confident that our continued efforts will lead to sustained academic growth and success for our students. Thank you for your time and consideration. We are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for all of that information. Board members, do we have any questions? Member Jones.
President Montier and board members, these are questions for the charter representative. And first off, I want to thank you for your hard work and dedication, because it does look like you are laser focused on getting this right. And we do appreciate that. I do have some more kind of technical questions that have to do with the A through F letter grade. So whoever you feel is appropriate to answer those, that works for me. So you have acknowledged, and I do appreciate the letter grade of B previous year to a letter grade of F. Obviously, I know you are probably, just as it is difficult, when that happens. And I do, understand. I do want to make sure that I do ask some specific questions about the letter grade and exactly part of the indicators that were part of that, just to make sure I clearly understand where it says you are going for the current year. And I think that you will successfully move out of that that failing letter grade. So from previous year to the 2024, it looks like your growth and proficiency were basically cut in half. And it sounds like from what you just reported that your growth now you're seeing is going to be moving up to at least the 58th percentile. Is that what you're seeing for current year?
Correct.
Okay. So the other portion in your readiness indicator, on average, most schools are about an 8% on the readiness indicator. For the year that you did receive the failing grade, you did have a 6.5, but the previous year you had all 10 points. So the year that you gained the 10 points, you dropped to the 6.5. Now you're in the readiness. Do you feel like you're implementing all of the implementation of what you're currently doing is going to get you back up to the 8 to 10 points?
Yes, I do feel like with the systems and what we have in place, the new curriculum for ELA, the coaching model that we have in place and everything like that is going to have us reach that growth that expected growth that's needed. It's a perfect storm of what happened last year. Last year it was a new administrative team. A high turnover in math. It was difficult finding a math teacher. We had a novice ELA teacher with unstructured curriculum, and I was focusing to stabilize the culture as my second year as a principal there. And I brought two of my strongest middle school teachers to the administrative team because they had proven results, and I wanted to do that school wide. So it was just a perfect storm of all of that, But we worked hard to, from day one, putting systems and everything in place to make sure that we are going to see that expected growth that's needed. All our data indicated a decline, but seeing that F was a gut punch, but it just was fuel for the fire to really push further. Because everything was in motion as it already, but then we received the letter grade. We're like, okay, really, let's go.
Well, if I could provide some context. So in the room, Nick was our math teacher who helped us earn a B. And Lacey was our ELA teacher who helped us earn a B, but the ELA scores are really good. And they're pushed in more now into the classroom. They're providing more oversight. They're helping those teachers write lesson plans on a more consistent basis. And the structure has greatly improved.
Great.
I think it's also important to note that the contents, the ELA was taught by one teacher in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and the math was one teacher in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So it had a broader impact.
Thank you so much for answering those questions. And I do want to commend you. You did, in both years earn bonus points, which that's not always easy to do. So I want to commend you on that. Even though that letter grade fell, you were able to earn the bonus points. So I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one quick question before I ask anybody else. So you addressed ELA curriculum, but we didn't address math curriculum. Is math curriculum staying the same? And it's just that there's more push and support for the math teacher. How's that working?
I'll let my dean of academics answer that. He's had his hand in that. So
yeah. So
can you still hear us? Because we can't see you if you can.
Yes, we can hear you, and we can see you.
Okay. So something just like blanked out on us.
We apologize.
So okay, as long as you can see in here. Okay. So
Yeah, y'all look great.
Okay.
So I was the former math teacher in that room for 7 years. What I did is I cultivated a system of supports and different things we would pull from to get supports. We got a new solidified math teacher this year, that somebody who can be in there all year, and that somebody has a proven track record. We have started to utilize the system or the curriculum that I used before, which was maneuvering the middle. We started off the year also implementing Eureka. But right now with my input, on a weekly basis, I meet on Thursdays, during the math teachers prep. And we have a whole guideline, which was submitted to you guys of, our dialogue. And we go over the pacing, we go over, what we can do to alter if we do fall behind, and also the intervention aspects. But the big thing is making sure that everything is hit on before the end of the school year and done so with consistency.
And maneuvering the middle has given us proven results. That's what
Yes.
Mr. Margot has used for 7 years.
Mhm.
And that curriculum, we didn't want to, has given us those proven results for years. So
I would just chime in too that regionally, we're looking at math because
Yeah.
we're traditionally performing lower in math. It's kind of an issue across the board for us. So our regional academic directors are currently, we just went through a training nationally with our organization, and they're currently diving into us creating a math vision and really looking at campus to campus, what those curriculums are and where we want to head next in math, because we've done a lot of work on science of reading in the last few years, but we haven't dove in as deeply with math, but we're starting that work now.
Great, thank you. Question? Yes.
Yes, thank you, President Montier. Thank you so much to the Imagine team for being here today and also for taking this matter so seriously. We can, hear and sense how much time and thought's already gone into this. As a school leader, I imagine we're an afterthought. When you see the F, the time and work starts going into it, right? But I was curious, I know middle school parents aren't typically the most active, but this type of letter grade probably has quite an impact on your community. So I was just curious what the parent reactions had been or any outreach the school has done for your parent community about this.
yeah, so we did send out notifications to parents, letting them know. And we have such a great community here. Our parents trust us. They know Miss Graham and myself and Mr. Margot and them taking on the administrative roles here, and it was just a transparent conversation with parents that did reach out. And they felt like they were in good hands, they said, yeah, we understand, and I just went over, everything with them and they were very understanding. And I didn't really, I felt very blessed that I didn't get any backlash from, they just wanted to get some understanding. And then as I spoke to what, to just everything, they were very understanding and then all the things that we have in place right now. And that's what I made sure to let the parents know. As you see, we're sharing with you the level up, our school theme this year is level up, and this is why it's level up. So, it was they were appreciative of the context, so.
Thank you. That definitely speaks to the parent trust, the community that you've built there. And then I apologize if you already spoke to this, but you've mentioned quite a few interventions, specifically in math. Are there benchmarking tools that you're using internally to track that, or like embedded data time for your team? I apologize if you already spoke to that.
Hi. Yeah, we are working, we have intervention in place for our middle school students every day. We're doing that through IXL and Navi. They're getting constant spiral review in their classes. Also, they have benchmark testing that happens through Galileo and STAR. So all of that is being reviewed weekly, and students are receiving as many minutes as we can push in or pull out to make sure that they're making progress.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. And I wish you guys a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Crockett?
President Montier, and I'd like to follow up on Ms. Miller's question because it sounds like that you are extremely cognizant and place great importance on evaluation and data and so forth. And you certainly seem to be very organized about that, which I think is very important. So my question is, how could you go from a B to an F without really noticing that during the year? I mean, were benchmarks not a part of what you were doing at that time, or can you talk to that a little bit? And again, if you explain that, I haven't understood it. So if you could clarify that.
Sure. So, and it really was just, like I indicated earlier, was a perfect kind of storm. It was really the teacher, we had a teacher in there that we hired for math. And she, we had a turnover in math, and it was a high turnover, and it was difficult finding a teacher in there. With us being a new administrative team, we were putting processes and systems in place and learning together. And then we had a novice ELA teacher with not a really structured curriculum for ELA. They're pulling from pacing guides. If it's not a skilled teacher, just utilizing the pacing guide. From prior years, that has been, we were able to get the results we did because we've had skilled teachers, and pulling to my middle school teachers out of the classroom to be in the administrative role played a part in that for sure. So, and
I can chime in too.
Okay.
Yeah, I can chime into some of that as well. I think one of the things we recognized was not that our benchmarks weren't showing us things, but it's really about understanding them and using that data to take action. So we've leveled up in some ways with that, and just as an organizational system. For example, Kathy Patton is on, and she is our regional data coordinator. And she's done data dives with all of our schools quarterly. In particular with this school, we do them monthly. We dive into the data now and really take a look at it and make sure not only this team understands the data, but our teachers do, and what to do with it. We've also tightened intervention. We recognize now that our intervention last year was not tight. We weren't using the data to target what we needed. And this year it's much, much tighter. Not only just what Lacey was telling you, but for example, in December, they looked at their most recent data and identified students that were on the cusp that they could really move and set goals with, and generated a list of those students, their data, and targeted goals, and then met with each of their teachers individually to then meet with each of those students individually to talk about where they are and where they were going and what they needed to do. So it was really about understanding it and acting on it more strategically.
Dr. Crockett, I'll chime in too. This is Brad Uchez. First of all, I love the question because I've been asking myself as a leader as well. And I will say over the last probably 4 years, it's been challenging at a system level to figure out what the benchmarks are telling us and trajectory to our letter grades. Our benchmarks come in four different colors. Red is not good. We've seen a lot of red across our campuses in terms of students not making appropriate growth due to some of the things and factors that have gone on. Kathy, I will credit her. She's newer to her role. We now have her ability to predict our outcomes to a much more effective manner. And so in traditional years, we were able to intervene starting in January, February, and we throw the kitchen sink at it. And I mean, all hands on deck if we see data going down. In previous years, the last couple of years, it's been challenging to figure out which buttons to push in terms of where the real fires were at. And I would just say for Imagine Superstition Prep, the constant churn of the math teacher, as soon as we had 3 math teachers in that classroom. As soon as that math teacher came in, we tried to get them prepped and going like we normally would. And then next thing you know, they were out and we're searching for a new one. So all that to say is I do think we're much more effective this year in our ability to intervene as a system when it comes to looking at the formative assessments that we see.
Thank you very much.
I just have one kind of sort of a follow-up question to what everybody has asked. And I know that we're not addressing the high school, but because the middle school had some challenges, what is that looking like for this year as far as the students that transitioned up into high school, the students that went from 6 to 7, 7 to 8, so on and so forth? So what is that looking like, and how, I mean, you've already spoken to it a lot, but kind of looking at targeting those gaps and holes from last year and addressing those. What does that look like for you? I know you said targeted goals with the students and that kind of thing, but is there anything else? And, especially when we're talking about the transition from 8th to 9th, which is a pretty significant transition for a lot of students.
So yeah, as of right now, looking at our current freshmen, we're making significant, it's actually our biggest growth in the entire school. As far as SUP went, was our 9th grade readers. We have a very strong teacher in ninth grade English. She's been with us for quite a few years now. She's even gone through our own internal leadership programs. She has proven results. She has been utilizing IXL since last year for intervention, and she did it with fidelity. As far as the math goes, we have seen some challenges as far as our ninth grade math. That is one area that we have really dove into this year. We have our head of our math department, Miss Tiffany Wadsworth, has been consistently meeting with that ninth grade math teacher, the Algebra 1 teacher, and it's been on a weekly basis every Monday, trying to figure out how we can move these ninth grade students in math, since we're seeing such a big divide between they're making these huge gains in reading, but we're not getting there in math. And they've used the same curriculum in freshman math or Algebra 1 for since I've been at this school, and trying to figure out where the issue is and what we can do to target those issues. So it's been a work in progress with ninth grade math, but as far as the ninth grade reading goes, the curriculum is definitely, vertical alignment wise, is definitely showing some great growth and consistencies.
Yeah, and I would just reiterate that the all the systems we've talked about, all those steps that this team has taken has been campus-wide. You know, although it's 2 LEAs, this is really operates as one school. So anything they've implemented in their middle school programs would be also implemented in high school.
Right. And that's why I asked the question. So I understand that we're addressing middle school, but because of the unique situation that you're in and the unique model that you have, I just wanted to see what that crossover looked like. So any other questions from board members? That was great. Thank you, by the way, for answering those questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions online? No? Okay, then with that, do we have a motion?
I can make a motion.
Oh, okay. Member Jones.
Yes, I'd like to motion for a consent agreement. So I move to find that due to one or more schools operated by Imagine Superstition Middle, having been assigned an F letter grade for fiscal year 2024, there is sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against a charter holder to assign an F letter grade. In an effort to restore the failing schools to acceptable performance, the board moves to enter into a consent agreement that includes the same terms and provisions as the letter grade consent agreement adopted by the board in December of 2024. If the Imagine Superstition Middle, Inc., herein referred to as the charter holder, chooses not to accept the terms of the letter grade consent agreement or an executed copy of the consent agreement, along with the governing board minutes approving the consent agreement, are not received by the board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue of a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract for reasons already specified. That was a mouthful.
That one usually is. We have a motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Ashley, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Miss Foster,
Aye.
Miss Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Montier.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for all of your hard work. We appreciate the information.
Thanks,
Thank you for
everyone.
the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item I2A, presentation by Andrea, Accelerated Learning Center, Inc.
Good morning, President Montier and board members. Under the board's financial framework, staff annually assigns each charter holder a summative financial performance rating of either good standing, adequate standing, or intervention. A charter holder that receives an intervention rating for 2 or more consecutive years is placed on probation and does not meet the board's financial performance expectations. Staff assigns each on probation charter holder a probation risk level using the two most recent audits and the criteria set forth in the board's rules. The board has established 3 probation risk levels: probation risk level 1, which represents the highest risk, probation risk level 2, and probation risk level 3. Under the board's rules, a charter holder assigned to probation risk level 1 is subject to a consent agreement with the board, charter revocation proceedings, or if applicable, denial of renewal. In February 2024, the board approved changes to the financial framework's measures, measure targets, and measure calculations. The fiscal year 2024 audits were the first reviewed by staff using the February framework. Earlier this year, the board directed staff to determine for each charter holder assigned to probation risk level 1 during the fiscal year 2024 audit cycle, whether the charter holder would have been assigned to level 1 if the February framework had been used to determine the charter holder's financial performance for the fiscal year 23 and, if applicable, fiscal year 2022 audit cycles. For a charter holder assigned to probation risk level 1, when the February framework is used for all applicable fiscal years, the board directed staff to place the charter holder on a subsequent agenda for the board to determine the appropriate action to take. 2 probation risk level 1 charter holders have been placed on today's agenda. Accelerated Learning Center, Inc. operates one school in Phoenix, which serves grades 9 through 12. The charter holder received an intervention rating for fiscal years 22, 23, and 24. Using the criteria identified in the board's rules, staff assigned the charter holder to probation risk level 1 because the charter holder received 2 consecutive probation risk level 3 determinations. The charter holder is also assigned to probation risk level 1 for the fiscal year 2024 audit cycle when the charter holder's fiscal years 23 and 22 performance is determined using the February framework. I am available for questions, and representatives for the charter holder are also available.
Board members, do we have any questions for Andrea?
President Monteith, board members, I do have one question, Andrea. So just to make sure, just to clarify, so the current probation risk level is a 3, but it's because it's consecutive, it's a 1. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So there's been there, and the probation risk level 3 is actually what happens if you move out of probation risk level 3. You just are no longer on probation, correct? Is that what it comes?
Yeah, typically to move out of the probation, any of the probation risk levels, you would likely need to get a either good standing or adequate standing overall. So you couldn't get another intervention rating, typically is what happens.
Okay. That's what I was, so it would be that in the next subsequent audit year, there would be a adequate or good standing to be able to. Yeah.
I see where your question is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. They will, because in this particular case, because the school has been assigned to probation risk level 1 this year, they would be eligible to be in intervention again and be assigned to probation risk level 3 because we kind of start over. So those 2 consecutive probation risk level 3s bump them into probation risk level 1. And because of the scenarios that are identified in your rules, that probation risk level 1 this year kind of gives them a starting over point. So they could be in intervention next year if they are able to fall within one of the categories or scenarios identified in your rules. I don't know that I've answered your question.
No, that's perfect. So in other words, if you're you know exactly what you need to do to move out of the risk level, you're doing all those things. There's a potential though that this particular school could actually still be within that risk level, even though they've made movements to move out of that within, even though they're going to maybe be within good standing or adequate or, okay. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on that. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm really glad you're clear on that. I'm a little unclear. but I think my clarity will come with the representative. So can we have a representative from the charter? Lovely.
Good morning, President Montier and board members. My name is James Meehan. I am the board president and charter representative of Accelerated Learning Center. Just a little bit of history and context. Fiscal year 24 was the first year that Accelerated Learning Center was under our leadership. So we did a change of charter control prior to that and took it over from the previous board. And really, if I was to summarize the themes, it would be successful transition and strategic investment. And that's really what our financials reflect, is bringing that school up to our standards of how we deliver education, our philosophy behind the foundation of our school being mentorship, with being an alternative high school for at-risk students. Investing in upgraded technology and making sure that we were one-to-one with Chromebooks across our entire campus. Upgrading staff technology, integrating upgrades in our curriculum. There was a bunch of deferred maintenance that we weren't aware of and had to replace almost every single AC unit. So, you know, and those kinds of things come along with transition. It's just natural. We couldn't see all the blind spots going into it. But we've made good strides this year in, you know, consolidating some of the administrative functions with our associated school, East Point High School, to bring some of that administrative burden down on the school. And you know, just really making strides forward and making sure that Accelerated has everything it needs to continue to thrive and perform as an A school like it has always been. Open to any questions.
Board members, questions? You're looking at me, Member Jones. You're looking to make sure I'm clear?
Yeah, President Montier, board member. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you being in front of us. I know that, you know, and we do appreciate the opportunity that you have provided Accelerated Learning Center with the investment and really the you know, opportunity to get the financials where they need to be. I think I understand correctly. I'm pretty, you know, sure that I've got a good handle on it. Is there anything else that you feel like in the kind of when you took over in terms of the financials that you really, you know, had to kind of laser focus on, whether it was, you know, monies that needed to be spent or monies that didn't, you know, is there anything else that you think the board, you know, it would be important for us to know?
Yes, President Montier and Member Jones, thank you for that question. Stability for our student population and the families was incredibly important going into this transition. The previous charter holders were the founders of that school. They were very much staples of that community, and we wanted to make sure everybody was very comfortable, and that started with staff retention. So going in, we put in a very generous retention bonus for all of the staff to make sure the stability was there for students. We had 100% retention and had the same going into this school year. So from that perspective, it was a very successful transition. And we had to right size several of our staff members' salaries. They were just too low, below what we would normally pay and be okay with paying teachers. So we increased those salaries to get them more to market rate.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
President Montier, a quick question, maybe for Andrea. In Exhibit B, Andrea, why is there the discrepancy? Because I think that unrestricted days liquidity is a snapshot in time. So why is there a discrepancy between the quarterly financial reports submitted by the school and then the audit?
The charter representative may be able to speak to this as well. It is my understanding that in the quarterly reports that we received, while there was a line item for cash that was being held as classroom site fund monies. That money was not being kind of split out. And so it kind of gave in the quarterly reports a little more, made them look a little stronger than they were. Under your framework, any funds that are carried over related to the classroom site fund are considered restricted. And so they're backed out. And so I believe that the differences that you're seeing in the quarterlies and then the dashboards are due to that classroom site fund carryover. And they have been spending that down.
Okay, thank you. Is
Yeah,
that right?
that's correct. And there's a few kind of buckets that have to get trued up at the as we approach the end of the year and get prepared for audit.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. You had mentioned that the founders were really strong members of the community. And so can you talk to us just a little tiny bit about the transition and how the families and the students, you were talking about student support and community support, how that transition went for everyone. You touched on teachers a little bit and about strengthening students, but I just was wondering if you could give us a little bit more.
Yeah, it went incredibly well. And I think that, staff, students, and families alike were excited for the change and excited for the renewed vision for Accelerated Learning Center. They were able to tangibly see and experience the investments we were making. So, they really embraced it and supported us. And I think the metric that shows that is that 100% teacher retention from last fiscal year into this one. So very positive, very supportive, and we didn't really miss a beat. Still are an A school and continue to move in that direction.
Thank you. Question?
Sure. Thank you, President Montier. Piggybacking on that a little bit, thank you so much for being here today. What do you see outside of the faculty as your biggest assets to really move forward?
The teaching staff is our largest. Many of them have been there since the beginning of Accelerated Learning Center. Outside of that, it's what we represent in the community that we are within. And we have formed a great relationship with the Paradise Valley Unified School District. We have a 3-year agreement where we work with them on students that have dropped out of their system. We go find them and we get them enrolled in Accelerated Learning Center. And it has been an incredibly positive and fruitful partnership that, of course, helps us and aligns very well with our mission and helps them with decreasing dropout rates, improving grad rates, all those kinds of things that we're in that community to do. And, people get confused, when I say Paradise Valley, they're thinking, Paradise Valley, but it's an incredibly diverse school district that isn't just surrounding Camelback Mountain. There's some quite a bit of disadvantage throughout that district, and we've been able to serve that really well. And I think that's a considerable strength for us.
Thank you. I grew up in the Paradise Valley School District, so I have an understanding of what you're speaking to as far as the different demographics throughout. And our co-founder at Challenge at my school sat on the Paradise Valley School Board. So I really get inspired about hearing collaboration between the districts and the charter schools. So thanks for elaborating. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. With that, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
All right, Member Jones.
The motion is to part of the financial performance agreement. So it's a lengthy motion again. So I moved to find that Accelerated Learning Center, herein referred to in as the motion as the charter holder, has failed to meet the financial performance expectations set forth in the board's financial performance framework and has violated its charter contract and state law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis of a notice of intent to revoke. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regards to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with this charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board moves into a consent agreement that includes the same terms and provisions as the financial performance consent agreement adopted by the board in March 2025. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the financial performance agreement or an executed copy of the consent agreement along with the governing board minutes approving the consent agreement are not received by the date specified by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract for the reasons already specified.
All right, a motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Dr. Crockett, Ashley, we're ready for a roll call.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Montier.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. Thank you for all of your hard work. Yes. All right. And moving on to agenda item I2B, Compliance Matters, Hassan Educational Services. Again, presentation by Andrea.
President Montier, members of the board, Hassan Educational Services operates one school in Tucson, which serves grades 9 through 12. The charter holder received an intervention rating for fiscal years 2023 and 2024. Using the criteria identified in the board's rules, staff assigned the charter holder to probation risk level 1 because the charter holder received a below standard rating on the going concern measure for 2 consecutive fiscal years. The charter holder's numeric performance declined on all 3 calculated measures from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024, and the charter holder was determined to fall within the high-risk ADM category. The charter holder is also assigned to probation risk level 1 for the fiscal year 2024 audit cycle when the charter holder's fiscal year 2023 performance is determined using the February framework. I am available for questions, and representatives for the charter holder are also available.
Board members, do we have any questions for Andrea? Nope. All right. Would the representatives for the charter please come forward? Good morning. Just make sure you touch the mic. Awesome. Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, President Montier, members of the board and staff. I'm Franklin Hoover from Indigenuity PLLC, and we're the attorneys for Hassan Preparatory Leadership School. The reason we are here is because a former executive director for the school failed to submit two impact aid applications for the school during the summer and spring of 2023. First thing, that executive director is no longer with the school, and understand the importance of impact aid to the school's budget. The school is a small school in Tucson. Most of the students are members of the Tohono Nation, and so the school qualifies for federally funded impact aid to assist those students. That constitutes roughly 1/4 to 1/3 of the school's annual budget. In the summer of 2023, that executive director was let go, and the school noticed that impact aid payments that were expected to be received in December of 2023 for 2024 were not received. What has the school done since then? This was obviously a crisis for the school, finding out that impact aid had not been applied for. The first thing was impact aid was applied for this year and is back. The school is receiving impact aid for this year and expects to receive it for subsequent fiscal years. We did provide you with copies of the receipts of impact aid and the subsequent impact aid applications. The absence of that impact aid money during fiscal year 2024 created a large hole in a small budget. So the school had to take some pretty serious steps to address it. At the time, the school had 21 employees serving 60 students, which was too many employees. So the administration has reduced staff and intends to be at 13 employees by the end of fiscal year 2025. They are currently, I believe, at 17 at this point. So they are continuing to reduce staff. The prior executive director had also leased office space in Tucson that was unnecessary, so the school immediately canceled that lease and got out of that expense. There were also 2 equipment leases that were not appropriate for the school that were canceled. So the school applied for impact aid, received it, reduced its staff, and took steps to reduce its expenses. The last thing the school has done is refinanced the debt for its current building, which has been approved recently, and that has brought new cash into the bank reserves for the organization. And that was the focus of the school, to address this, to stop the bleeding and try to backfill the problem. And we believe that for the subsequent fiscal years, the school should be able to meet the performance measures established by the board. And we would request that the board approve the offering of a consent agreement to the school to allow us to work through that. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if the board has.
Board members' questions?
President Montier?
Yes.
So it sounds like a miserable time. So
yes.
Sounds like you guys are doing a lot to rectify the situation, and sorry going through that. Can you talk about your ADM has been going down pretty dramatically from 2022 at 121.5 to 54 and for 2025?
Yeah, I can give you one example of some of that. Can't explain it totally to you, but one example is in the 2023 summer for student enrollment drives. Normally that would begin at least no later than May for enrollment for the following summer. At that summer, enrollment drives did not begin until July. So there was a problem. The school, what is the school doing to address that? Number one, they're increasing their enrollment efforts and making a particular effort to do outreach with the Tohono Nation and the communities within the Tohono Nation, which is the source of their students. That hadn't occurred for several years, from about 2022 to 2023, and that was an important focus for the school. So I hope that addresses your question partially. The principal of the school, Mr. Aranda, is here, and he may want to speak to that.
If I can just ask a follow-up. So we had an executive director that wasn't doing their job. Where was the governing board on this? And was who was, we have the lawyer here telling us the story. What's going on with the governing board, and how are they changing their oversight of this school so that they understand what's happening more real time?
The membership of the governing board has also changed since that time. So it would have been a 3-member governing board. Only one person who was on the governing board at that time is, I believe, still connected, and she may have been not on the board in 2023. There's currently a 2-member board seeking a 3rd member and working much more closely with the principal to engage in the oversight.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Montier. A little bit of a follow-up question on the ADM. The reality of costs is what it is, right? You have to relieve some of those costs to move forward.
Yes.
However, like the sustainability of the organization, if you're losing students already and they see their staff members also being let go, I would think that it would be a slightly doomsday culture, knowing that we're still cutting people. So I don't know if you or a board member, community member could speak to, how we keep that sustainability and bring the kids in while, watching other things the kids maybe would want to be associated with going out, if that makes sense.
Sure, and I think one of the big efforts, or one of the unique factors of Hashan, is many of the students travel in from the Tohono Nation to Tucson. And transportation and class scheduling issues have been an issue. And I know that Principal Aranda has been addressing those 2 important issues. It also fluctuates between the portion of the student population that resides within the Tohono Nation and the portion that resides in the urban areas of Tucson. So I think there's a lot of factors that affect Hashan's unique situation. And also factored into this is the COVID pandemic, which I think has affected a lot of schools. And I don't know how much of the enrollment loss was tied to what happened with COVID and people moving to online schools. I can't answer your question for exactly what caused that decline in enrollment. All I can say is that the current board and administration recognized that increasing the student population is critical to the success of the school. and they're taking the steps that they can make to do that.
Go ahead, Member Jones.
President Montieth, board members, I just have one question, and it sounds like the impact aid, you rectified that. Who is responsible for applying for that and continuing to apply for that?
Currently, it's the principal of the school,
Okay.
and that's normally the case for a small school like this. And I have no explanation as for why that was not applied for in 2023. That had been received by the school for every year of its operation, and it was a normal routine task that just didn't happen that year. There's no
Okay.
excuse or explanation.
Thank you for, thank you for explaining that. And this kind of, the other thing, I guess, so annually, to ensure that impact aid is being applied for, is the board now going to have an oversight role to ensure that that is one of the tasks that is being done? Is that the idea behind?
I would kind of, it's akin to having to remind yourself to put on the seatbelt and think about it. I think it was something that was automatic before, but yes, now everybody's checking and making sure.
Okay.
That,
I just wanted to double
that-
check. Thank you.
this was a normal and routine
Yeah.
test that I don't think anybody assumed would be ongoing every year, but I think there will be renewed focus on it going on, at least for the next future fiscal years.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
And I think piggybacking on actually both of the questions that were just put before you. So how has the loss of the impact aid impacted the community for the school? And then what has the school seen now that impact aid is being brought back in? What has the school seen as far as is there additional support? Because it does address ADM, it does address community and culture, and you're looking at, you addressed transportation. That is a pretty significant cost as well. So can you talk through what that looks like so that we have a better picture?
Well, what I can say is during the year that the school did not receive the impact aid, the students should not have noticed that because the costs weren't put on the students, the loss of those funds. So hopefully what the students experienced in 2024, they didn't experience the loss of revenue in the classroom. So those costs were absorbed by, I assume, other financial measures. As to the current status of the school now that the impact aid has been received again, is what you would expect. You would expect a leveling of the operations and things starting to calm down. The focus is, of course, still on the students, and the school had some academic issues earlier that have been improving over the years. So if we can get both the academics and the financials on the same track, I think the school has a good future. That's the challenge where the school is doing both things. But my understanding is that when the impact aid wasn't received, the school still had the staff that it had, still had access to the services. They were crunching and using reserves during that time that now need to be built up. And the reason the school is here for the performance measures is primarily because of the lack of cash reserves and the adequate cash on hand. It wasn't for failing to pay bills or not having services. So that's the current situation. And I hope that answers your question.
I think so, yeah. Any other questions from the board? No? Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
President Montier, this is Hans. I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Hans.
Okay, I move to find that Hashan Educational Services, hereinafter referred to in this motion as the charter holder, has failed to meet the financial performance expectations set forth in the board's financial performance framework and has violated its charter contract and state law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board moves to enter into a consent agreement, that includes the same terms and provisions as the financial performance consent agreement adopted by the board in March 2025. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the financial performance consent agreement or an executed copy of the consent agreement along with governing board minutes approving the consent agreement are not received by the date specified by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract for the reasons already specified.
All right, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, Carol.
Are we giving it to Dr. Crockett or Member Jones? Dr. Crockett. All right. Okay,
Dr.
we're ready, Ashley.
Okay. Vice President Close.
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Jones.
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
President Montier.
Aye, and I do wish you all the best with the impact funding. I hope that that turns things around for you.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item J, summary of current events, future meeting dates, and items for future agendas.
Board members, our next board meeting is on Tuesday, May 6th, and that is all that I have to report.
All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.